She's a practicing Jew, and there's a big Jewish holiday coming up next Tuesday. And we're going to talk about the cultural importance of Israel in Judaism on the West. Her name is Justine Murray, and she was a former contributor at OAN, and currently she's an assistant producer at Newsmax. And I have her on the line with me. Her name is Justine Murray. Thanks so much for joining me here on The Morning Buzz. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So I just kind of want to ask you this. I mean, this is an amazing opportunity to talk with somebody from OAN, a contributor, and then also you work at, now you work at Newsmax, and you're Jewish, you're practicing Judaism. I wanted to ask you, how does that work out? The conservative values and then the Jewish religion, how does that coincide, and how did you end up in the roles that you have?
Certainly. Well, I actually grew up as a Reformed Jew, modern Jew, not super religious. I would always be there during the main holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. I would go to Shabbat. I was bat mitzvahed. But I didn't really become more religious or really more in tune with my Jewish ancestry until I faced anti-Semitism in college. And it wasn't anti-Semitism from the right. It was actually anti-Semitism from the very same people who claim to be progressive. And they peddle this idea that in order to be progressive, that all white people are bad and Jews are all apparently white. So therefore, they don't like Jews either, and that you have to stand against Israel in order to be progressive. So I think that's really where I tied my Judaism with my values right now as a conservative. But beforehand, I didn't really see the connection because I saw Judaism and my personal politics separate. And honestly, that's how it should be. But unfortunately, we're living in an age where right now the conservative movement has supported me as a Jewish person, and leftists have discriminated me for being Jewish.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm very excited. Actually, my pastor, and I go to a non-denominational Christian church, but my pastor, we were talking about this really big holiday, and you had already mentioned it, and I am going to butcher the Rosh Hashanah. He had mentioned it in our sermon this past Sunday, and we're super excited about it because biblical prophecy talks a lot about, and I personally believe in the rapture and things like that because, my Christian faith and everything like that. But we're all very personally excited for it. And I think that there is this push from progressives that Jewish people are bad, which is so bizarre and almost like you're progressive and you're supposed to be all for human rights, but yet you're against the Jewish community and you're all pro-Palestine. So I wanted to talk about the politics there, but can you tell me a little bit about this holiday that's coming up next Tuesday?
Certainly. Rosh Hashanah is the beginning. It's our New Year. It's the Jewish New Year. So we're basically starting over, where we're heading into the new year. And with that comes a new start, a new chance to make things right with God, to make things right with your friends and your family and your community. Then Yom Kippur is coming up. And Yom Kippur, it's almost kind of like a day of a judgment where you sit and you really think about your sins, what you've done wrong the past year, and how you're going to make the next year better. And it's really special to me because Rosh Hashanah sometimes lands on my birthday. I was September 13th, and it really resembles a new start for me every year. I think that it lines up perfectly. The fall is very important to me because Rosh Hashanah and my birthday, and I'm lucky that it kind of starts in the same time period. And I'm excited to hopefully meet with my family, and we'll have our Rosh Hashanah services. And it's almost sometimes when people wish me Happy New Year in January. That's what the mainstream. That's what most people think when they think of the New Year. But for Jews, it's in the fall.
I love it. And, what's really interesting is my birthday actually falls sometimes on Easter, which is, in the Christian faith, a very big day for us. It's one of my favorite holidays. So April is one of those months where I'm just like, yes, this is my month, and this is where I, reproclaim myself to Christ every year, around Easter. But I wanted to also talk about your trips to Israel and the cultural importance Israel and Judaism has on the West. Why is it important for us to, take our brothers and sisters who are Jewish and are practicing Judaism? The West has always been predominantly Christian, but I do think that the conservatives in the West right now, there is a big push to bring our Jewish brothers and sisters together and try to defeat, and what I believe are evil forces taking over this nation and this world as this idea of globalism starts to become more popular with leaders like Putin, with Xi Jinping, Biden, a lot of these European leaders. What kind of importance does Israel have on the West?
Both Jews and Christians have a foundation in Israel. There's something. What I love about Israel is that there's something in Israel for our major religions. Judaism, Christianity, and also Islam, but especially for Judeo-Christian values. That's where we got our roots from. And Judeo-Christian values, those are the values that really prompted democratic values, that prompted the values that we hold dear to us in America. We wouldn't have this country. We wouldn't have America without our Judeo-Christian values. And those come from the land of Israel. And what I love about both Jews and Christians going to Israel, even together, is it forms a bond between us. Jews and Christians, we're like brothers and sisters. And right now, we really have to stand with each other. We have to stand up for each other because both Jews and Christians are under attack. We're under attack from the mainstream leftism being peddled in all of our institutions. This idea that religion is wrong. If you're a practicing Jew or if you're a practicing Christian, you're automatically considered a kook. And this idea that in order to Judeo-Christian values, we are a threat right now to the Marxist agenda being pushed. And when we stand together, we're more powerful when we're united. As they say, there's safety in numbers. And when we're able to both groups take a trip back to Israel to explore our roots and have a better relationship with each other. Again, safety in numbers. Well, there's more of us. There will be more of us connected so that we will be able to defeat this wave of nasty leftism, this push for atheism, and this idea that if you have faith, you're automatically deemed a kook.
Yes, exactly. I know. And I face it all of the time. And people don't, whenever I say that I'm discriminated against or I'm pushed up against because of my Christian faith, people laugh at me and they're like, no, that's not true. But it's so true. People push back on me all of the time and call me mean names and say that I'm some sort of nut or evangelical because I believe in God. And it's just like, when did it become the norm and when did it become popular to take up the idea that people who believe in God are nutty or kooky? I just don't know when that shift happened or how it quite happened, and I don't know if it was incremental or if it just happened over time. But one thing I also wanted to ask was, what happens to you personally as someone who is a practicing Jew, somebody who is in the news world and keeps up on the news? I mean, you're assistant news producer, and we're talking with Justine Murray here on the Morning Buzz. What happens to you when you hear, Rashida Tlaib or somebody just so pro-Palestine and so anti-Jew? What are the feelings you have surrounding that?
It's hurtful, of course. But what's even more concerning that it's not just what some nasty squad members say about Israel. It's this it's being pushed, that it's being pushed on young people. It's being pushed on people my age, by Hollywood celebrities, by professors. I remember getting death threats in school and calls for my cancellation because I supported Israel's right to exist. And I was a Zionist, which, for those who don't know, Zionism is that Israel, the Jewish people, have the right to exist in their ancestral homeland. It's Jewish sovereignty, just like other groups have the right to exist in their ancestral homeland. It's the Jewish people's right to return to their ancestral homeland, which we've been kicked out of numerous times. So when you hear Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar saying that Israel, it shouldn't be a Jewish state, or Zionism is wrong, or Israel is oppressive simply for its existence, what they really mean is that Jews do not have the right to exist in their ancestral homeland. And that's discrimination. They want to deny my people the right to return to my ancestral homeland. That's sheer anti-Semitism. And that's what some of my professors pushed in school. When a faculty member, a dormitory advisor, takes up an image of a Star of David being crossed out in my dormitory, saying that it was to support Palestinian rights in the name of Black Lives Matter.
I don't even know how these people wind up connecting the two. Why are they making that connection between Black Lives Matter and the Palestinian rights? I don't see where there's a connection there. But, I mean, these people are unhinged, so I shouldn't be too shocked.
Yeah. They want to say that if you want to support intersectionality or the rights of one oppressed group, that you must support the rights of another oppressed group. And they deem Palestinians an oppressed group. They are oppressed, but they're oppressed by their own people. They're oppressed by Hamas, the terrorist organization that runs half of the Palestinian territories, that tells Palestinians that they will get executed if they dare contribute with Israel, if they buy Israeli property,
wow.
if they sell their property to Israelis, if they work with Israelis, they will actually get executed. That will be their punishment. So they're oppressed by their own leaders. But the left, they want to say that, the evil white Jews are oppressing Palestinians. And it's the same hateful rhetoric that got my ancestors murdered in the Holocaust, because it's this idea that one group has the power over everybody else, has an unfair amount of power. And that's what they're pushing today. That's what the left is pushing today. But they're just, changing the words, changing the narrative a little bit so they can disguise anti-Semitism as some progressive cause.
Wow. I mean, this is disgusting. But I did want to take a break here on the Morning Buzz, and I appreciate you joining me, Justine Murray. She is incredible, and I love your Instagram. How do we find out more about you? And I didn't even know this. You're actually a pageant queen, too, so this is really cool. How do we find out more about you and keep up with you on Newsmax?
Certainly. So my Instagram account is where I post most of my content, because I'm a Gen Zer, of course, or a Zoomer, as they call it. Justine, Justine Murray. That's my Instagram handle. My Twitter handle is JUSTINE_Brooke. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Justine Brooke Murray. She is incredible and a truly amazing guest. I appreciate you coming on to the Morning Buzz.